The safety deposit box. You can hide a lot of stuff in there. They're bringing me bundles of 10s, and I'm able to turn them into hundreds for them so that then they can ship it back down to Colombia. None of the employees ever suspected anything funny was going on. So I was born in Colombia, Medellin, Colombia, as a matter of fact. And there's one area back in Pablo's heyday and stuff in the 70s and 80s called actually Barrio Antioquia. So that's actually where I was born. Both my mom, my dad, all my uncles are pretty much a second generation growing up from that barrio. And then
is that what your dad is involved in that area? Is that what he did?
Growing up as a teenager, yeah, because my grandmother ran a couple of bordels or however you want to call them. But yeah,
I had to stop myself from being like, nice. Sorry. It's probably horrible. It's horrible. I'm sorry.
But
sorry.
Yeah, that's they grew up, my uncles, they all grew up in that environment. So it wasn't tough to get into the business because just being from El Barrio, I mean, you could get a connection very, very easily. The get-rich scheme now is the narco world. So Griselda's first thing, most of the mules that she would use at the beginning to bring drugs in here were the girls from El Barrio. We're used to that, and all they would have to do is put some drugs on them,
right,
bring them back then on the airplane. They wouldn't check them. They say they'd come here for modeling and things like that.
This is back in the 70s,
yeah,
right? Like
this is like 75, 76.
It's not like it is now.
No, not. Yeah, so we're talking 75, 76 now. So I have an aunt who comes as one of those and loves it over here and starts seeing now how the get rich in Miami kind of, wow.
Right.
And
it's a better life, right?
It's just quick, pretty quick money, and it's a lot of money. And she establishes here first, and then she slowly starts bringing more, more family members. Kind of like opens the door, establishes here, and then brings over my dad. So when we were getting brought over here, so the connection, most of my family members was through, they would catch a plane or boat, to like Bimini, to the Bahamas. Then from there, they'd catch like a little Cessna plane that would bring them over.
Right.
Stuff like that. That was back then. We're talking early 80s. Me and my brother were coming over legitly, but with other documentations as Venezuelans. I just remember that I had a different last name. And you got to think about it. I'm 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm having my older brother, my mom too, telling me, hey, if they ask you what your last name is, you're not Carmona. You're not Carmona. This is your last name. This is what you got to say. And I'm like, why? Like, why? Thankfully, when we went through, they never asked me.
Yeah.
But they did prepare me mentally and things like that. So I remember, little things like that. Of course, you're a kid. You don't really put too much thought into why are we doing, you just,
right.
Your mom would just tell, hey, this is what we need to do to go, to go live with dad. So, okay, and stuff. But I do remember her telling me like so adamant and being like so scared at the airport that they were going to once, ask me, hey, what's your last name? And I wouldn't remember what the passport last name was. So we came over, and my brother, we assimilated into the whole American culture, just, going to school, having friends, riding bikes, playing football. I mean, everything. This is the thing. I never even knew my dad dealt drugs until he got busted by the FBI when I was 13 years old. So my whole childhood from 5 to 13, I mean, my dad just was very low key. Like I said, I would have. It just when the FBI came and told me, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. My dad would get up, go to. Well, pretend like he was going to work every day. Yeah, true. Yeah.
What happened when your dad got arrested?
So now we're. That was in 1991 in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And I'm 13 years old. So he lasted about a good 10, 12 years, flying very below the radar. He set up shop in Miami. He expanded out to Atlanta, and then he opened up shop in Portland.
Okay.
And so that's, if you look it up and stuff like that, it was a trafficking network that, spanned from Miami, Atlanta to Portland.
So what happened there? Like, I mean, you come home from school one day? Does your mom pick you up? What?
So at that time now, we moved to Atlanta. when Miami became so hot with the whole cowboy era, and
they're shooting each other in the streets
and all that, and being that my dad directly and indirectly would get product from some of those family. Let's just say those two would be warring against each other, and what you just mentioned, killing each other. And my dad would sometimes buy from this guy and sometimes buy from this guy. But he always paid his bills. He always kept his face clean. Nobody never had problem giving him work. But the heat was just so much in Miami that that's what I was told we moved to Atlanta for. Now when I'm young, back then we were told just so that my brother can go to school somewhere else, and all this other stuff. So now we're living in Atlanta, and my mom and my dad take a vacation. I'm telling you now from what I've been told. So they take a vacation. They were going to take a vacation to Hawaii because my dad was going to disappear. Certain things were starting to happen that were a little weird. And he always knew how to sometimes just go back to Colombia, hide out, disappear for 3 or 4 months. I mean, I remember when I was young, I remember asking my mom when Dad's coming home, and it'd be 3 or 4 months since I hadn't seen him. Of course, she would say, "Oh no, he's stuck in Colombia," because supposedly his business of what he did was he opened up a corporation that would send construction equipment to Venezuela for construction projects and things like that.
Right.
So what my mom would tell me is that he's in Venezuela right now, he can't come, but it'd be 3 or 4 months. Now I know back then he would just lay low, get another identity when things got a little bit too, and then, of course, come back. He was on the verge of doing that again. There was a lot of, just a little signs going on.
like co-defendants or co-conspirators getting arrested? Like little
No,
signs
just from what I've been told, like FBI agents snooping around,
right,
asking. They had certain pictures of certain people.
Yeah, surveillance. We keep seeing these people are following us.
Yeah, so you start seeing a certain way, or whatever kind of van. But mostly a lot of the places, like the bars and the people in there, they would tip off, my father's like street level people say,
right,
hey, there's some, most American bars, like it's local people.
Yeah. Go
there. When a new person kind of shows up and is trying to be too friendly, too cool, it's okay. But that's what started saying, hey, and they would start telling, I don't know, there's some funny people coming around and they're actually asking me, they're asking, hey, where can I get some of this? Which is, so they, of course, that would get back, and you just knew right then, like, okay, something, they're fishing right now. They're fishing for something and things like that. So my dad, when he hears anything like that, that's what I'm saying. His protocol before then was to go lay low. They usually would freeze operation in Portland, Atlanta, everything until things kind of like died down and things. And that's what he was on his way of doing this time around. My brother at that time, he's about 19. I'm about 13. So they left us in charge. We were only staying home for like 4 days while all of this. And that's when it happened. All I remember is the phone ringing at like 2 a.m, my brother picking up, and I do hear the worriness in his voice saying, okay, bueno, ma, sí, está bien, I got him, I'll take care of it, I know. And I'm asking, what's going on? And he's like, yo, just get a week worth of clothes together, we gotta go to a hotel. Of course, I'm asking, why are we going to a hotel? My brother's not answering me, he's just telling me, yo, shut up, just do what I say, all this other stuff. So that's all I remember, So then my brother also told me, tomorrow when we go to school, don't take the bus home. I'm gonna come pick you up, and just things like that. I didn't understand exactly, what. My brother would tell me something like, oh, they're just having a little problem, something with the papers on the flight, or like something at the airport. He would just make up things like that. So my brother knew very well what the family business was. So he went back to the house to pick up some money that was in a sofa, hidden and stuff. It came out to be like almost $80,000. So this is in like 91. He runs upstairs, he tapes it to his leg, puts some sweatpants on from my dad, grabs some other like personal stuff, grabs some more clothes and things. And as he's leaving the house, FBI swarms him. again, boom, FBI everywhere. Now, my brother's also never, had to confront any of this or stuff like that. So he's freaking out. Thankfully, for whatever reason, they didn't pat him down.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's just a kid, and he doesn't look like he's got anything. Like they probably don't.
They knew he was, and they did ask him, "What were you doing in the house?" And he said, "Look, I was just getting an extra bag of clothes and all this." And they just said, "Well, we're here now to let you know that house and this car are now property of the U.S. government. You can't drive it no more." All this other, and they pretty much just left him. He walked to the corner and called a taxi, and picked me up in a taxi. So now here's another question: what happened to that? So now he shows up at school. I'm waiting 2 hours after school's letting out. Even teachers and everybody's wondering what's going on. But he finally showed up in the taxi and picks me up. Now I'm wondering what's up with Dad's truck. And now he's like, guess what? Now we're going to Miami. And so so now we come back to Miami. We have a lot of other family connections, not in the narco world or nothing like that, but in Miami we'll feel a little bit more safe. Well, I still don't know.
Yeah.
I still don't know. I'm asking him on the way down, what's really going on. He just kept saying same thing, that they're having just some problems in the airport with the papers and things like that, but they should be home soon and all this. It wasn't about. So we go stay at a family friend's house. Has nothing to do. Nobody close in the family that was also involved in that world. Of course, they're not going to take us in right now.
Right.
That's like giving it away. So we went, to another close friend of my mom's who, they live very clean lives, and we stayed there for a week. But so when I finally got the truth revealed to me, I'll never forget. So I'm sitting at that house. I'm sitting there, and the FBI shows up, 2 agents. So about 2 weeks have gone by now since my parents have gotten detained. And I'm sitting there, and that's the FBI finally said, "Hey, you're never going to see your parents again." And I just remember just getting frozen, like, what, and then he's, your dad's been selling drugs, like a lot of drugs and all that. I just stayed quiet. I froze. It just didn't, that couldn't register because I never saw.
Right.
I never saw anything. I never saw that like counting money or drugs or nothing, nothing to make me believe that. And it wasn't even me, even the neighbors and everybody, because supposedly FBI then would go and question the neighbors and everybody's like, no, I can't, this guy's like at all the family barbecues and all this and all.
Right.
We see him leaving at work, like, and bro, my dad's appearance, he looks like Albert Einstein. He doesn't look like a typical Colombian, like how you would know. As like the white, I even inherited the early whites. And
was did you ever see the movie Traffic?
Mm-hmm.
Where when the distributor for whatever cartel it was in California, when he gets busted, like his wife has no clue until the lawyer comes in and sits and leans into her and explains. But everybody involved, like, they have no idea. Like, he owns restaurants. He owns, like, they're like, he's a regular businessman. It's like, no. And she's like, what's going on? He's a businessman. What happened? His lawyer leans in. He's like, it's not exactly what you think. The businesses are used to launder drug proceeds. And that's when she was like, but it's smart to keep that look because people get jealous. They turn you in. You staying in a nice neighborhood. You go to look like just like everybody else.
It's like everybody, like every other family man on the block. Just like now I reflect back and I'm like, man, how was I so nice? But just you would never. That reality had never crossed my mind until, of course, that day. That was devastating. Now and then to think, because they kept saying that he's going away, that they're both going away for life.
Right.
To think that I'm never going to see them again. Of course, that eventually didn't happen. You know how it is at the beginning, how they do.
Yeah, they're terrifying everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Mm-hmm. So that happens, and then I go to live with my brother. The protocol was, if this thing ever happened, okay, so they catch my mom in Portland too. She shouldn't have been there. This is one of those cases where wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And look, she would want to maybe believe she didn't know the money, but she knew the money, and her charges was laundering and knowing the proceeds, and there was just no way that she has no way of knowing and all this money, and she had a couple of houses in her name. There was a couple of houses in me and my brother's name, but she was left as the custodian till we were 18 years old. You know, so of course the government came, come on, how are you not? And she was like, well, at the end of the day, it's my kid's father's.
Yeah.
If he brings me money, it's not my job also to question him where the money comes from.
Yeah.
And if it's enough to support my kids and for us to live good, it's not. But what she should have done, because she got released on bond. She was left, you know, we put a couple of houses on bond for her to get out. And she should have just, grabbed us and followed the protocol and took us to Colombia. But she had faith. It's one of those things. I remember specifically sitting down with her at dinner one night. Now I know the reality now, you know, and me. Now remember, I'm raised in the American school system, and justice system, and you know you're innocent until proven guilty. And
as America turns 250 this year, it has me thinking about the people that really helped build this country. Not the ones in history books. I'm talking about American ranchers. The men and women who wake up before the sun, work long days, and keep food on our tables year after year. That's exactly why I like Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers honors that legacy by only sourcing their meat from local American farmers and ranchers. Everything from the pasture to the final seal on the box is done right here in America. I'm actually a Good Ranchers subscriber myself. In fact, my wife and I had the chicken nuggets last night and they were amazing. And that's not the only thing they have. They have steak, chicken, seafood, and more. And all of it is amazing quality. If you want to support American ranchers and get great meat at the same time, now's the time to try it. Subscribe today and get free meat plus $100 off your first 3 orders. That's $40 off your first order and $30 off your next 2. Just use my code INSIDE. That's goodranchers.com. American meat delivered.
You believe in these things. And I remember specifically asking my mom, well, Mom, are you guilty? I mean, how do you feel? She's like, no, I never did anything bad. Your dad will give me the money. I mean, it's your dad. I'm like, well, if you're not guilty, you'll be innocent.
Right.
And then, I mean, I don't think she's going to lay on the advice of a 13-year-old on such serious, but who knows what her lawyers were also telling her at that time.
Yeah.
We don't know with the government. And she showed up to the trial.
Right. And she went through the trial.
She shows up, and I mean, now my dad just, when he saw her walk here, he couldn't believe it. He was like, no, like this wasn't the plan. So at the beginning with the trial and things were.
Is this his trial or her trial or both their trial? Oh,
it's a whole enterprise.
Okay.
With like about another 5 co-defendants in Portland.
Right.
They were able to get everybody in Portland. The people from Atlanta and Miami were able to get away in time.
Okay.
Because since everything happened in Portland, all the red flags, so the calls got out, boom, 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 and everybody. So when they hit the places in Atlanta and Miami, there was nobody left. But in Portland, they did, like I said. So my mom, my dad, and 5 other co-defendants. So now everybody's at the trial, and that's where when he sees her show up, she shouldn't have been there. So, and when he sees that they're really hitting her hard and they're like throwing the book, and at the end of the day, they're using her to get to him. At the end of the day, what they wanted him to do,
plead guilty,
was and snitch.
Oh, okay.
Say to give up his higher connections in Colombia. Who's he working with? All this other stuff. Yeah. No, not even him and none of the co-defendants would cooperate. Would even talk about it.
A little late now, anyway. Now that it's been, publicized and it's everybody everywhere knows he's already been grabbed.
Yeah, I remember. I've never been able to get from the Oregonian, but I know he made the front page of the paper there. Colombian narco, busted in Portland, all that, and people in the Portland community would follow that whole story through. But yeah, so now they used her as a pawn to hopefully get to him. And when he saw that they were trying to throw the book at her, he pretty much stood up in the middle of the trial and just said, give me life. I'll take the blame for everybody here. And he pretty much told the government, he wanted to make a deal, let her go, give me life. I forced everybody to do it. They didn't have a choice. Like, this is just how it is. from what I've been told, there was a deal in the works where she was going to be really, as long as he
Pleads guilty.
pleads guilty and things like. But then at the end, they threw in the curveball. Not only did he have to plead guilty, but he would have to turn in some associates or, give up some information.
Right.
And on that part, my dad said no, and then they gave him 20 years, and my mom got 12 years, and all the other got between 5 and 8 years.
Would she get the 12 years for money laundering? Just straight money laundering?
Yeah.
You get a lot of time for money laundering.
Mm-hmm. So they gave her 12 years. That one was harsh. And that hit him hard. But my dad fell into a code of silence, and some people don't even know this. Here's another, kind of like I don't want to say fun fact, but it is a fact. He's been the only prisoner to do 20 years in the federal prison and never made one outgoing call. He never used the phone one time to call anybody outside. Since the time he got detained, he never picked up the phone one time. They say he's the only person ever that they know of that never made a phone call. Even when my mom. So now they're both in the federal bureaus of prison, and married couples are allowed to like call each other once and my mom would put in the request, and he would always deny the call.
Okay.
Say, I don't.
Why? Is there a reason?
He went into just a deep code of silence, and he just felt as if by picking up or talking to somebody, who knows who else they might go after or whatever. But that's just, how do I say? We just go. That's that old nature of just not. You did the crime. Now it's time to do the time.
What year was this?
So all this is 92 is when they get detained in 91. It was February, and it was they already had about a 2-year operation, so trial and everything was pretty quick. And you know how the feds are. The feds, I mean, they don't detain you until they pretty much
right. Once they arrest you, they've already got a case.
They got a case, and there's really no way out unless you cooperate.
Yeah, the state will grab you and then put together the case.
So I think it was like 6 or 7 months later the trial happened. So it's probably the end of 91, and now they get sentenced. So my dad gets the 20 years, my mom, and my dad was supposed to get life, but actually the judge had compassion on him for actually standing up and just taking the guilt of everything and gave him only 20 years.
So, all right. So by this point, you're what?
So now I'm about
14.
13, 14. 14. Mm-hmm. And I go to live with my brother. Remember my older brother, and but they were always still trying to get my dad to talk one way or another. So my brother's about 20 years old now. I mean, we're living back in South Florida, back in like the Broward County area, where we're pretty much, me and my brother like grew up in the whole Hollywood, Pembroke Pines area. I graduated from MacArthur High School and stuff, which is one of the big schools there. Well, so my dad, my brother now, so I'm living with my brother, and my brother now, he's hanging out with a couple, rough dude, gang, little local gang guys and things like that. And they're out one time at a club, and my brother always said that they were still following him.
Okay.
He would always see some car, and he just always and I guess
were they, or is he just kind of paranoid?
No, I get, yeah. So I guess now clubs, he's got a couple of drinks on him and things like that, and they see this weird car just following him and a friend of him, once again, as they're leaving the club. So this time around, they actually, my brother says he pulled, the car had pulled into a plaza, and they saw that the car also pulled into the plaza, but they went to another way. But then they quickly got in the car and went. But they were thinking, who is it? Like, is this? They don't know. So they're just, so it's my friend and one of his, my brother and one of his friends, and when the guy steps out, and he doesn't disclose himself as a police officer or an undercover agent, nothing like that. And they start the war of words, and one thing leads to another. Ends up being my brother hits him. now all of a sudden he is an undercover, so now he gets aggravated battery
Okay. On a
on
police
a
officer,
Leo.
on a Leo.
on
Okay.
a Leo and stuff. So now he gets arrested and all this. So now he has his own trial. So I remember now I get that phone call at like 2 a.m.
Right.
from my brother because we're living together, saying, "Hey, I'm in jail, but don't worry, I'm gonna get out. This is stupid. He all this other stuff. I'll get out. But man, they made his case also seem bigger than what it was, and before you know it, they're using my dad. They go to my dad. Hey, now we have your older son.
Right.
You want to help him out?
And what does he say?
No.
No, he'll be fine.
He'll be
He'll
fine.
figure it out.
Mm-hmm. If you say he did what he did, then he'll know how to do the time. And they hit my brother with 5 years. He got over. I talked to a lawyer, and they said they over sentenced him because he had no priors, no
Right.
nothing, no. So when lawyers look at that now, they're like, man, they over sentenced him by like 3 years. He should have just got like probation or something. They done with 5 years out of the. But this is now Florida State, the state of Florida, and he did out of the 5 years, he did 3 years in Brevard. He gets so now I go live with an aunt of mine, an aunt and an uncle, who's my dad's sister. She was the only person in my whole family from both sides. Because remember now, my dad's side and my mom's sides, everybody's involved in the narco world one way or another. Whether it's selling, shipping, trafficking, laundering, one way or another. And I have one aunt that came over here and never went to the left. Like, just never have all the temptation to do, and she never did. She just concentrated on living an honest life and thing, and thankfully God touched her heart and she took me in. So when my
Okay.
brother went down, so now she takes me in and I go live with her and her husband during all my high school years and things. So my brothers and I went to visit my brother like one time, and I'm visiting my mom too during all this time. I'm going up.
Where was she?
Mostly, so she started in Connecticut. Then they moved her to was it Atlanta? No, Kentucky. I'm sorry, Lexington, Kentucky. And then from Lexington, Kentucky, you know how they try to move you as close as you can to like where you have family. And
Yeah.
then finally, the closest we got her down here was to Tallahassee FCI, and I would go to Tallahassee to visit her periodically and things like that. And so now I'm starting to become a young adult
Right.
and things, and you start going out, you start hanging out. The reality of who you're a fan, I guess it could get a little bit into your ego, or in a way, but I'm having I have a very good influence now with my aunt and her husband, because like I said, just hardworking, dedicated people, very Catholic kind of oriented, but at the same time, I have a very strong pull still from the other side and things like that. So I'm living with them. My brother finally, so out of the 5 years with good conduct and all this other stuff, he serves 3. But he was just a resident back then. He didn't have. I was fortunate enough to be able to, because of my aunt and uncle, and them pretty much adopted me and things like that, get my citizenship. My brother, being now he got arrested, so now he gets immigration on him, and they deport him. So we ended up having to put they put an immigration bond on him right when, so he gets out of the 3 years, and then immigration is just waiting for him right outside.
Right.
The immigration picks him up. I remember we had to go to court in New Orleans, but the judge just deported him. So now he goes back to Colombia, and I stay. I'm living with my aunt or uncle. I'm going to high school. I'm graduating. I'm clean, not getting involved in nothing, and just living day to day. Up until this point, my dad still had, not even a phone call, birthday card, nothing. No, he doesn't talk to nobody. There's another crazy story. My grandma, his mom, came. He was in, most of his time he did it in Pekin, Illinois, which is right outside of Peoria. So you would have to fly into Peoria and then drive like an hour to this small little facility. And his own mother, imagine this, an old lady coming from Colombia, knowing no English,
Right.
just never knowing he has a 20-year sentence, never knowing she's going to see her son again before he gets out. So she's like, let me make the trip. Makes the trip all the way out there, doesn't tell nobody. Shows up for Mother's Day to visit her son,
Yeah.
and he denied the visit.
Yeah.
That's all in the book. Let me just add, he denies the visit. People were, that's just, they actually interviewed her like on the, coming out of like the local news and things like that, because he would always catch a little fame here and there
Right.
for not talking or not calling and all this other stuff. But yeah, she said she said it was all in English. I didn't even know what to say, but they wanted me to say something, but she just went back to Colombia.
So how long is it before when you get involved?
So by now, I remember even my aunt and uncle, they would still we would still see the van after my brother's arrest. But then it finally like calmed down. We didn't see no van. My aunt and uncle, my uncle would, like, when he would take his walks and stuff like that, and he's, I remember one time him even knocking the the window on the other guy's door, saying, what are you guys doing? And they would just say something like, well, we have permission to be here or something. He's like, okay, well then, if you want a water or coffee or something, just let me know. I mean, you know where we're at. I mean, we're here. But eventually all of that stopped. And Matthew, I'm trust me, I don't want that life.
Right.
Nobody, my closest friends, even my girlfriend back then, I didn't tell nobody the reality
Right.
of what my parents. I would always just tell everybody that my parents were back in Colombia, and I came here to, for my aunt decided to adopt me and better schools and all this, but I was ashamed, man, and in high school and stuff like that. At first, I didn't even want to talk about it too, and I would just be ashamed of it. But I become 18, graduate high school. I'm going to college, FIU, and just living a very, very legit life and things like that. And then I start working at a bank as a teller.
Okay.
Back then it was Great Western Bank. That then gets bought out by Washington Mutual. Start working at the bank, and I move up. I'm moving up, and that's what I'm going to school for: international business and finance. And as I'm moving up in the bank, so I'm going from teller, and I'm already pretty much like assistant branch manager, all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, why am I spending all this money on school? Because one thing, even though my dad, got busted, one thing he left us well off.
Right.
So I had my 4-year with the Florida prepaid college, like, paid off. They left a house in my name. So, I guess we were able to make a deal after everything went down, and they kept X amount. And I was able to keep just one house that was in both me and my brother's name,
Right.
in custody of my mom. But we had to prove that the money came from my grandfather, my dad's dad, which in reality he was a butcher all his life. He owned a lot of butcher shops in Colombia. And things like that. So we had to kind of falsify some documents in Colombia to show that money never came from drugs.
Right.
That was my grandfather
Yeah.
giving us that money.
That he had paid for the house.
The house.
Right.
And
So-
that's the only reason the government allowed us to keep that house. So at the end of the day, look, I can't sit here. So I have my tuition paid for. I'm collecting the rent every month from that house and things like that. So I'm pretty good now. I'm working at the bank and things like that. But it's Miami. You start going out. You start going out. You start partying. You start meeting people. Now they're, you're so-and-so's. Oh, you're the younger son. You're going to club. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, it sucks. Yeah, what happened to your dad? And all this. You're 18, the girls and things and stuff like that. And so now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So that same life where I used to be ashamed of nothing, it's opening up these doors, these party life doors. I'm going into clubs. I don't got to wait online. Sometimes I don't even have to pay for my bill and things like that. My friends are coming with me. We're kind of like enjoying that. And And that's where I start opening my eyes to that, the darker side of certain things. But I'm still working at the bank, still doing all that. And happens to be at the bank, they offer a position at a branch. So this is now what? This is about 98. Yeah, this is about 1998. Yeah. I graduated in 96. It's about 98. Position opens up to run a branch out, like a very underperforming branch.
Okay.
For Washington Mutual. So of course, the assistant branch manager, the one I'm working with, says, "Hey, I'd love to take you with me. I feel like boom, and I'll make you the assistant of that one." Now you got to know a little bit about what's going on in Colombia in '98. So in '98, we had a president, Pastrana, and he was very lenient, and he allowed the guerrillas and stuff, like he gave them a Switzerland size part of Colombia, so hoping that they would make peace and all this other stuff. And of course,
This is who, FARC?
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, they don't, they use it just that to actually arm themselves, train, do better, all this other. So a lot of Colombians now flee. Colombians with money, though. Colombians with money, and some of them would, be undercover, narcos, and things like that, would flee Colombia now because, the guerrillas are getting all this power and stuff like that. And of course, usually the first place to come is, usually South Florida. Miami has a lot of connections here and things like that. So all these influx of all these people coming with money, just from Family Connect. Hey, so-and-so's son is working at this bank. He's a man. So I'm able to open up accounts for them. I'm able to, show them how to, a business account and maybe how to wash a little bit of money here, do this, do that. And man, let me just tell you, that branch goes from in less than about 2 years, it goes from being the underperforming branch in the region to like top 3 in the region now, in deposits, in cash, and all this other stuff. I mean, they're bringing me bundles of 10s. This is from the street level guys.
Yeah.
The 5s and the 10s and stuff like that, and I'm able to turn them into 100s for them, so that then they can ship it back down to Colombia, and because you could fit a lot more if it's in 100s then and all that. So, but like I said, I'm not getting involved in like trafficking or nothing like that. I'm just now using my position, yes, in a way not really wanting to, but it is kind of like look, I'm not going to sit here and say I was obligated in any way, shape, or form, but I did feel if I said no, what else? I mean, what could happen? I mean, we still got family in Colombia.
Okay.
And this time, my brother's in Colombia, right? He's trying to make things happen over there, but right now, Medellin again is still very dangerous. It's still, because we're talking 98, 99, especially the barrio where we're from. That's now it's known for narcos and sicarios. And if you're not from there, I mean, you just don't go there. Now it's totally changed. Now because
Sicario is what, a killer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And now it's totally changed. Now, I mean, Medellin is a totally different. I mean, it's a tourist hotspot now. And the actual barrio where my family's from is, known first for the gambling, the prostitution, the narcos, the sicarios, and all that. Now it's the number one hub. So when tourists go down there to get drugs or whatever they need, the taxi man just takes them to it, and it's actually very, very safe. They don't want no robbing or killing or not, the people who control it.
Right.
So so tourists go there to get whatever fix or whatever they need, and they know they can safely go purchase whatever they want. Don't have to worry about the police or anything like that, and get what they want and go back to their hotel, to their party, to their Airbnb, or to whatever. So barrio now has actually come up. They say every corner, because it's very well distributed. So, like a taxi comes in, and then, okay, this guy, it's your turn and this turn. So everybody's making money, and they say every corner is worth a couple $1 million and stuff. So El Barrio has definitely changed. It's no longer all that. But when my brother was still there, it was still very dangerous. And my brother's trying to make things happen, but Medellin is still not, like I said, what it is today. And he's getting frustrated. And my grandma was getting worried. He's spending my dad's money. She's
Right.
thinking, man, dad's gonna, your dad's gonna do 20 years. He's gonna get out. And this, don't get me wrong. We got, he's got properties and things there and stuff. So my brother decides to come back to the States. Now, me and El Barrio, we've always had connections to get papers and things like that. So he decides to come back to work, do legit, live together and stuff like that. And we're able to get him to Costa Rica, or he uses his own name from Colombia to Costa Rica.
Right.
Then in Costa Rica, he gets a whole new Costa Rican identity, passport, everything, stuff like that. Flies into Orlando, like coming on a vacation for a week to see Mickey Mouse and go to all the parks and all that. But when he gets to Orlando, he has another ID waiting for him from you Puerto Ricans that live in the mountains and stuff, and they'll sell the birth certificates and they'll sell that, and then you can just
Right. So
they kind of just match you up.
yeah.
Oh yeah, this guy, he looks about blah blah blah, yeah. And so when he gets here, he has a whole nother with a social and everything able to work.
And it's not hard to take those documents, I'm sure, and get driver's license, a Florida driver's license with your real picture on it, and slowly.
Especially back then, when I saw one of your episodes and things, I was like, man, you were doing it from when they were like creating them,
Right.
Young. But no, our connection, that's what they would do. They would just go to up in the mountains and these people that live, they're just farmers or whatever. They never use them.
Yeah.
They don't carry IDs. They don't do, and they would just pay them and take them down.
Well, if I have a driver's license in the state of Florida, as whatever, Juan Fernandez, and the real Juan Fernandez has a driver's license in Puerto Rico as Juan Fernandez, like
It's not
nobody's connecting those two things.
Yeah.
And let's face it, you can have, if you move from Iowa to Georgia, or you know what I'm saying? Like you still have a valid driver's license in Iowa and one in Florida.
And you could use that one, to get another state.
Yeah. So it's not like that raises any red flags. Okay, the guy just moved and got a new driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
So
the only red flag sometimes he would have, because he still spoke good English.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole a lot of Puerto Ricans speak good English. They know, they go back and forth. So
a lot of Puerto Ricans don't speak English at all.
No, and that too, that too.
There's people in Miami that've been there 20 years that don't speak any English.
Trust me, even in my family, there's still. But yeah, he had to work a little bit on the accent, especially being not if you're in Georgia or something like that. They don't know the difference, the accents. But if you deal with let's say in Miami, with a Latino policeman or undercover agent, I mean, he can peep that.
Yeah.
This guy's Puerto Rican, he speaks like he's Colombian.
Right.
That could. So you would still have to be a little careful, stuff like. But like I said, he wasn't coming here. He was coming here to, live legit, take care of me and all this. But so now he comes back in. We're good. I got my apartment. I got all this, but I am doing all this other stuff at the bank.
Right.
Kind of like on the side. I mean, one of the other. The things that they also was to. The safety deposit box. I mean, you can hide a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Especially cash and drugs. And when they started, I guess it's something that was already come from Colombia, because somebody pandemic, and they said, hey, when you take somebody into that other room, when you go, your safety deposit box, and the guy from the bank then takes you to the other room and stuff, is there cameras or anything? I said, no, it can't be. So, we're not. And by law, you're not supposed to keep cash or anything like that. So, of course, I mean,
but
to any criminal, the light bulb goes on. I said, well, what is to say if I was to put, some drugs in there, and then some other guy comes and you let him in and he gets the box.
Right.
Stuff, and, he takes out the drugs and puts in the money, and could then, like, no, there's no cameras, there's no nothing. And being that I'm also the kind of like the gatekeeper of it,
right?
I could be I could peep them off and say, hey, guess what? They're onto you guys or something like that.
Yeah, they came and seized the box, or they came. They told us to contact them if somebody comes to check in.
Correct. And so then that's where I started getting I started getting into some bad associations by doing that, allowing them these access into the bank. So I would, so now we're talking, this is about 99, almost 2000. Like, cell phones had already come out with the texts and the Nokias and things like that. And, they would text me a code. So one guy would come, boom. They would always just wait for me to, they'd sign their name in the waiting area, but only wait for me to come let them into the box. I'd come in, I'd take them to the room, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And then the next day I'll get the text of who the other guy's coming into.
Yeah. What are you getting for this?
I
wouldn't be doing this for free.
No, not at all.
I'm getting. We're all Colombian. We're gonna. I just owe I'm just doing this for a fellow Colombian.
No, correct. No, so we're not. It's not for free. They're breaking me off. You gotta. So in 2000, I'm getting, depending on how many. It would be about 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes only once or something like that. But pretty much every day that's something like that, it'd be about $1,000.
Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah.
So, man, I was
young
20,
kid. Yeah.
20 years. I'm making good money at the bank, and I got this side hustle with all of this going on.
And you're a rainmaker, right?
Yeah.
Like the people at the bank think this guy turned this place around.
Correct.
Funny, 90% of the deposits are in cash, but that's kind of weird. But yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah, Badly, let me tell you, you're right on point. I'm getting all the accolades from the bank too, like all the rewards and the trophies and things for number one, the pie. I mean, my manager, she's like, and everybody's coming asking for me. That's the thing, and they're opening up. They're opening up legit businesses too.
Right.
I mean, of course, it was to
launder money,
launder and stuff like that. But you'd have like your car detailer. Mostly the ones, a lot of people don't understand this. Most of those dollar stores back in those days were that original concept was made for that, was for traffickers to launder money.
Listen, you know how many fucking places I drive by on a daily basis? Like Jess, my wife, and I would drive by. There's a place called, I want to say it's Burger Monger or Burger. It's some burger place, right? It's been there for 3 years. It's on a corner. Ain't nobody going in that place. And the burgers are okay. They're not bad. But I mean, we'll go in there. We're in there for 30 minutes. One person walks by. Like, this is at noon. One person comes in. They get some fries and whatever. The people are sitting behind the counter just talking on the phone and doing, whatever. And I'm sitting there and she's like, I don't know how this place stays in business. I go, this is a money laundering operation. Do you understand that? She says, no, it's not. I go, look at this place. There's no fucking way this place should be open. I said, do you have any idea? Listen, this is on the corner. This is on 56, State Road 56 and Bruce B. Downs. And it's maybe a block in, and it's on the corner of this massive strip mall with a Publix. And this place is, I'll bet you the rent there's $25,000, $30,000.
We'll always start thinking like that.
Yeah, like there's no way. You got 3 staff members who are doing nothing. You're paying $15,000 in it for staff. I mean, this place there's no fucking way. Like, there's no way this place is staying open. And we drive by all the time. We'll drive by some place, and my wife will go,
oh, look, there's people in there.
No, not there. No, because there's never anybody in there. No, just in general, she'll see a store. She'll go, I don't know how these places stay in business. This place right here. I'm like, this is a money laundering operation. I say that every time she says it. And she'll do it. She'll go, there's nobody ever in here. I'll go, of course not. They're laundering money. Yeah. And I keep telling her, since Trump, I'm like, listen, since Trump shut down all of the well, at least a lot of stuff coming across the border and coming in the boats and this. Like, I'm telling you right now, we're going to start to see some massive fucking places going under. She goes, why? Because they're not able to launder the money.
Yeah.
There's no money. There's no money laundering. Places are going under. Burger Monitor, they got another month. They're going under. There's no way they can stay in business. Yeah, there's tons of stuff. Like, I always think about that too. How easy is it? If you're making money illegally, like, the smartest thing to do is go open some legitimate business where you're doing business, but you're also laundering money in through, not a ton, just some. Because the truth is, if you can open up a business and stay in business for 3 years, you got a pretty good chance of that business being successful because it's the repeat customers, and you're building up customers over the course of 3 years. Most businesses fail in the first year, but within 3 years, it's something like 2/3 of all businesses fail in the first 3 years.
3 years.
So if you can make it 3 years, you got a pretty damn good chance of just because even if you're just a half-ass business, it doesn't matter. You've got the repeat business. You've built up that business. So if you're got a drug operation or some kind of illegal something, one, you get to launder your money, easily, just a little bit. Don't
Just a
go
little bit.
crazy.
Exactly. Just don't go
crazy. That's how
Yeah.
that's how you keep, people don't realize too. If you walk into a bank one day and you say, hey, I'm opening a bank account. Okay. You open the bank account. I'll open it with $3,000. Oh, okay. They're okay with that because they understand the business. That's normal. And then 2 days later, you come in and say, here's $8,000. And then 3 days later, you come back and here's $9,000. And here's $7,000. The next day is here's $10,000. And it's all cash. Even if you said, no, sometimes I have people write me checks. Okay. So 95% is cash. Yes. 95% of everything goes. Okay. Within 2 months, they're shutting that business. I mean, they're shutting those accounts down.
Yeah.
People don't realize
That's going to get red flag, right?
yeah, they're going to be like, listen, this 95% of all the money that's coming in here is cash. And, oh, no, it's just a cash business. What? It doesn't matter what. Nothing's a cash business anymore. Even cash businesses aren't cash businesses.
anymore, yeah.
So, because everybody uses a credit card, even if it's attached to your Cashapp or your PayPal, they all have debit cards. So it just doesn't. So it's very difficult to make those businesses work. If you can launder money through them and stay for 3 years, then you have a legitimate business. Maybe you can start working your way out of that, right?
Correct.
But having somebody at the bank to help run interference and let you know what those laws are, what those rules are, hey, don't come, hey, go get some money, or hey, do you have any friends? Great, give your friend $5,000. Have them write a check.
That's it.
Not for $5,000 even, $5,112. You understand? Don't get let's make it look legitimate. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's $5,000. It's always in $1,000 increments. Like that's a red flag. They're
Correct.
The system's gonna flag that and say this guy's making every fucking deposit he makes is $7,000, $2,000, $5,000. Oh, but they're all checks. It doesn't matter. What business do you have that's there? It's an even number every single time. They're gonna write. It's a flag. You're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
So, but if you could have somebody like you on the inside saying, listen. Don't get crazy. Your boy came in here 3 days in a row with fucking $9,900. Like, that's just stupid. Oh, it's under 10,000. I don't give a shit. It's under 10,000. It looks suspicious. You're going to this teller here. This is Jennifer. Jennifer's a middle class white woman. She's going to tell on you. She's looking to tell on you.
Exactly. Because we would even get, and you're absolutely right, man, what you're saying. Remember when the fraud department, or, the Secret Service, because pretty much they're the ones who back then, I still think now, but back then they were the ones, and when they would send us a little, hey, what do you know about this account? Because they would get flagged. Because, boom, boom, boom.
As the heat shoots up through your stomach into your chest, and you start sweating, reading that letter, like, oh my God. And you're only loosely involved at this point, right? So, but doesn't matter. You just know the name of the guy, and I open the account, and they're asking questions. I don't want to be.
Yeah. I would just, hey, it's not my job to wonder where,
Oh, yeah, the guy came in, he started a business account just like everybody does.
all the papers, everything's legit, all this other stuff's got,
But the next time you see the guy, you got to be like, hey,
Exactly.
you got to fucking.
Yo, exactly. Hey, that account, we got to, guess what?
Do you close it or
close
do you,
it. Yeah. It'd be like, hey, we got to tone it down, and now, open up another one, gonna need another name or something like that. But by then, that one served its purpose. You used it for like a year and a half or something like that. So, how much did you, were you able to siphon in through there and stuff like that throughout the time? So and that was pretty much the typical lifespan of certain things like that. And sometimes the business would even, like what you said, and sometimes guess what? The business would take off.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure periodically that's going to happen, especially the longer you can go. If you're really running it right, not just, like if your whole goal is, oh, no, I'm just trying to launder money. I don't give a shit about the business. Okay, well, it's going to go under then because whoever you hire is just going to rob you blind because people will just rob you blind. That's what happens with most restaurants is they're like, I don't understand what happened. Well, the biggest problem with restaurants is people will just, your employees will rob you blind. Just a little here, a little here. We get 6 employees. They're all stealing $150 a day from you. That's no good. You're going to go under. You know what's a great for money laundering is going and buying just a shithole house. You know, you buy just a cruddy house for $100,000, right? So you go, some guy's selling a house, and I mean, it's just a junker, right? Everything's bad on it. Go buy a house for $100,000, get the person to owner finance it, give them $10,000. Like, yeah, I'll give you $20,000 cash, but you owner finance it for $80,000. Okay, great. Here's your down. I owe you $80,000. I'll make the payments, no problem. But I'll have you paid off in a year. Okay, no problem. You know, they'll take cash because it's just some seller, right, or some investor. He'll take cash, and then you dump $100,000 into the house, right? So now you got $200,000 in the house, and then you sell the house. But when you do that, when you go to put the roof on, you just have some guys put the roof on. You don't pull a permit. Well, you could pull a permit if you wanted to, but you put the roof on, and then you have the guy paint it. You pay him. Everybody, you're paying cash. Cash, because they'll all take cash. The roofer, he's desperate for cash. Cash. You know, the painter, cash. Drywaller, cash. You know, the guy, maintenance guys, cash. Trim the trees. Everybody loves cash, right? They all take cash. So you got $100,000 right there. Now you got $200,000 in the property. Put it on the market. Even if you put it on the market and you break even, you'll probably sell it and make $230,000, $240,000. But let's say you say, oh no, I actually broke even. I only got $200,000. Well, you're getting a check for $200,000. So you bought it for $100,000. You sold it for $2,000. You got a check for $200,000 less whatever you still owe that guy from owner financing. Let's say he gets his $80,000. So you've got a check for $120,000, and you declare that to the IRS. I just bought this house for $100,000. I put a few thousand into it. 3 months later, I sold it for $200,000. And the IRS is going to be like, okay. I'm like. That happens. People have that's a hell of a return. Yeah, it's a good deal. You don't tell the IRS I paid this guy cash and this guy cash. They think you bought a house for $100,000. I painted it. I came out on the weekend with my son. We trimmed the trees. We mowed the yard. We patched the roof. It was no big deal. It was just a little leak. I did some of the drywall myself. So here I put $2,000 on some paint and some supplies, and we did it ourselves, and then we sold it. I couldn't believe it. We got $200,000 for it. Oh my God. So there's a profit margin right there of $100,000 or $98,000, whatever, less your the few little receipts you turn in to make it look legit, like we just did some minor cosmetics.
I was going to say, you get some invoices and things like that.
Well, it's minor cosmetics, right? Like so you do that, and now you just laundered $100,000 in proceeds that you told the IRS. Now, are you going to have to pay income? Are you going to have to pay taxes on the $100,000? Yeah, I'm going to have to pay taxes on the $100,000. But what does it matter? Now I've got the money that I can legitimately get a check from the title company. I legitimately get a check. I can deposit it into my account. Now I legitimately have $100,000 that I pay taxes on. And you really don't have to pay taxes if you just roll that into another property. You can do the same thing again and again and again. And you know, you end up with $1 million, and you're going to pay taxes on it. You're probably going to pay 20%, 30% on that profit. But at least then at no point can they come and say, "Oh, we're taking everything you have." What are you talking about, bro? I made $1 million in the last year and a half. I made legitimately. I paid taxes. It's on my taxes. I can show you all everything. Yeah, and they're gonna be like, "How the fuck did this guy do this? I don't understand. How's he getting these deals?" I mean, I'm good, bro. Yeah. I'm good. I drive through these neighborhoods. You know, there's shitholes. I'm always in these bad neighborhoods. You know that. You've been following me for 3 years. Yeah. You see me driving in these shitty neighborhoods. I know all these drug dealers, bro. These drug dealers like that. That's why I hang out with these guys. You see me with these guys.
And if
they'd be like, I think he does hang out with the drug. Like, you think that's what's happening? We've been following him for 3 years. Yeah, you know. What, you think I was selling drugs? Come on, man. Oh, why? Because I'm Colombian? Racist. That's what you say.
Yeah. Like, you put together, but yeah. Sometimes I look back because back then in 98, 99, and I'm young, but you know the real estate game didn't pop off here until actually, when did you? Was it 98, 99?
No, it was 98, 99. That's when it started. That's when the kind of the subprime started shooting. Correct. It took a few years.
Correct.
The last few years is when it went insane and then fell off a cliff. Because 2007.
If the real estate game was going on back then, you better believe that's what I would have been like. Forget the business.
Well, you're still fixing up the house though. Yeah. You're not selling that. Like you're doing a legit renovation, and you're just not paying anybody. You're just paying everybody cash. That's how you're laundering it through all of these guys who are just doing the work
Yeah.
They don't.
You could have become
Right. The guy who's putting the countertops doesn't think he's
property
laundering money.
management company. And look, I'm managing all these properties for all these investors.
Yeah, you could just sell. You could even sell the properties to people that you know. Sell them and then just keep the properties and manage it. And then just everybody who's paying rent for I pay $1,500 a month in rent. You say he's paying $2,000. Did you ever see Animal Kingdom? It's Animal Kingdom. It's a show about a family and they basically rob banks. Well, I think they do some drug deals too, but it's mostly bank robbers. And the mom runs the whole thing, and she launders all the money through all of her rental properties. Every month she goes around. And it's funny because when they come to finally start investigating her, they're driving around like they're talking to some of the tenants. Some of the tenants are like 85 years old. They're like, I paid $200. And they're like, $200? And she's saying the guy she pays like $1,900 a month. And some old lady who pays $200. And she's, yeah. But she's had tenants in there just to have in there, and then she gets her $200. And then she she goes and gets money orders and makes all these deposits. They do it every month, and that's how and all of her kids are W-2'd employees. It's funny because if you watch it, if you watch it and you see what's happening, there's not like they're telling you what's happening. You kind of figure it out, but you would know. You'd be watching, you'd be like, because at one point one of the kids she takes under her wing and says, listen, these other Nimrods aren't smart enough to do this, but you are. And so the kid starts handling all the accounts for her and laundering the money, and she teaches him how to do it. But while she's doing it, if you watched it, you would know. You'd be like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Now I see what she's doing. She's doing this every month. This is her full-time job, is just laundering money that her sons are robbing banks. And they would show up and just, here's the money. And, she'd be like, that's all the money? You didn't keep any money. She's hard ass, bro. You got to watch that show. You'd love that.
Yeah, man.
It's one of the better ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Animal Kingdom. Okay. I got you.
So what happened? So these people are showing up or
Yeah. So now, it's very smooth operation. I mean, nobody that I'm working, because now the branch is, it's like 17 of us now working there. I mean, tellers. I remember when I first got there, it was all the old ladies.
Right. They got to go.
Yeah. They gotta go. And
are these all Hispanics?
Pretty much, yeah.
Do any of them realize something's not right here? Something's not right.
No. So I made working there so tough for the old guard when I came in that they would request transfers to go to another branch, and of course now I'd bring in like more attractive women. So at the end of the day, out of the 17, it'd be three guys and 14 girls and all of that. And so on top of not only all of these illegitimate businesses, the legitimate businesses are moving over from the other branches and stuff like that. But none of the employees, nothing ever suspected anything funny was going on. Everybody just, Granny just knows a lot of people with money. It's just always been like that. And
yeah, that's what's happening.
But usually younger.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're younger,
they're naive.
Young and stupid.
You're young and you're not looking out for that.
Yeah, listen, I like coming into work. There's 8 hot Latinas that are working here. I'm not asking any questions, bro. I'm one of 3 guys and 8 women. I don't care what this guy's doing.
Correct. The older ones will be like, wait a minute, this guy comes, this guy's coming in there.
She's got to go. Yeah,
correct.
The old biddies start asking questions. Say, listen, Martha, you'd be happier somewhere else. I can tell you right now.
Yeah, exactly. And the young ones, because they get a good tip too.
Yeah.
The guys would be like, hey, I don't know, she just finished counting out $20,000, exchanging them for, of course, I'd have to sign off on it, and stuff like that. And then, hey, here's 100 or 200, thank you. Oh, so they're loving it too. They're just like, oh, great. These guys, so.
How long does this go on?
Almost about 2 years. And that's actually so one of the street level guys that's supposed to bring in, so remember, you have the laundering aspect of it, but then you also have the trafficking side of it, with, putting the drugs in the safety deposit boxes and all this other stuff. So that one's these are more high level type of dudes and stuff like that. The money laundering guys that are gonna, that walk into the branch and their faces being, because there's cameras. There's no
Yeah.
way. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
So, they're sending in street level dudes, to do this on behalf of the company and stuff like that. So, but this street level dude they would never know what's going on with the safety deposit box side.
Yeah.
Of it.
Well, everybody's an individual, different.
Yeah, he's just getting paid to come in, bring in 20,000 in tens and fives and stuff like that, and get, 20,000 in hundreds. Make sure Christian is there working at the moment in time when this is going down, and that's all he knows. But they do know that I'm the guy who's making sure that nothing bad is going to happen.
Right.
So one of the street level dudes, I don't know, he gets popped for something. Well, I later found out, he tried to do some deal actually here in Hillsborough County,
Okay.
right? Turns informant.
Right.
The DEA then is telling him, well, who could you help us set up? Like, who do you know? Anybody? You got to help us out. You're going to catch, minimum mandatory. What they do to most of these guys, they don't even last 3 months now.
Right.
They just turn over real quick. And of course, he's like, well, I do know this one guy works at a bank.
That's actually a big deal. Like if you could say, what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
all know another drug dealer. They're like, oh, great, another. But if you're like, no, I got a guy in the bank that's helping us launder money.
Correct.
That's a headline. We can get some newspaper print out of this. We're going to get some articles made, make us look good.
And guess who his dad was?
Who?
No, and then imagine him telling the DEA.
Oh, yeah.
And guess who his dad is? How well connected he is. They must have been salivating.
Right.
They must have been like, "What? You can help us?"
Yeah.
Like,
That's another. That's even a better article.
Yeah, you can help us set this guy up. Man, I get. They actually. I was later revealed they paid him. They wanted this so bad they paid him $10,000 to set me up. Imagine that back then in 2000.
What about the code?
Yeah. No. So now he comes in. True, man. I know.
What about
I know. Tell me about it. So he starts bothering me. Remember,
But this is the guy that was just bringing for somebody else. He's bringing in cash.
He's bringing them in cash.
Okay,
Exactly.
so
So that's what
he
I'm saying.
just knows
he
you're
just knows
involved.
the exact. He just knows the money, the whole money laundering side of it.
Right, but he doesn't know about the deposit,
Deposit
safety
box and
deposit
stuff
box.
like that.
Okay.
But they want to catch me on a trafficking case. But he does know that I should. They're like, look, can you get him to reveal a connect or something like that?
Okay.
So of course now he starts, when he comes into the bank now, he starts asking me, hey man, I got this debt to pay. I partied too hard one night and now, I'm a little under and bro, can you help me? When I come in, but for them coming in there doing they're probably getting paid, I don't know, $300, $500 a pop.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's still okay money. Not
Yeah, for what? All of 10 minutes worth
10
of work?
minutes,
Yeah.
the work and stuff like that. But now he's saying, he owes some guy $3,000, but he's got a guy that's needing a kilo, that's needing some work. Could I help him find, can I
a buyer, whatever. Yeah.
No, a seller. He's got the buyer.
Oh, okay.
He really needs this because if not, he has to pay back these $3,000. And
Did you not think that this is like, why are you talking to me about this, bro?
yeah,
Like, I would have
Yeah.
immediately been like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking.
Yeah.
Especially now for sure. Prior to prison, I might have been like, what? Oh, I don't really, or maybe I do know somebody. I probably wouldn't have been thinking, but now if somebody started saying that, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking
no,
about?
that's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
I kept telling him, I'm like,
nuts?
what are you talking about? Like, bro, I don't want nothing. Look at me. I'm in the bank, man.
Yeah.
I got a good job. I don't need to get. He's like, but come on, you know someone, like help me out. I said, how much is it? $3,000. I'll lend you the money. Pay it back to me shortly. He actually showed up. Well, of course, it was an undercover.
Yeah.
He actually showed up one day at the bank. This is when I pretty much lost it. Saying, "Oh, here, just so you know, Chris, this is the guy that wants to, buy the kilo. He wanted to make sure everything's legit with you, that you do work at the bank, all this." And I turned to the guy and I said, "Look, the only business I'll have with you is if you're coming here to open up a bank account.
Right.
That's it. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know all this other stuff." I leave them there. Of course, I pull the other to the side and I say, yo, please don't you ever
Right.
come in, do all this. But I knew the persistency was also like
Yeah, red flag for
like
sure.
like
Something's
red
definitely
flag.
wrong.
Something's definitely wrong. And I'm saying no each way.
The no, the one no, the listen, I know what you're talking about, bro. Don't come around. That shit is right there. Shut it down. Mm-hmm. Anybody who comes back again, no. Now, if you were questioning it before, you'd be 100% positive this is some bullshit right now.
Correct. So now, mind you, my brothers live. We're me and him are living together again.
Right.
All of it. But he's working. Like I think he was working in a landscaping company. Like everything legit. And I'm doing the bank thing and stuff like that. Right. And now this is going on. Like I said, I never said, if anything, I mean, they did eventually when they revealed the wires, like I had 3, like when you just tell somebody, okay, bro, just leave me alone. I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. But that's about it, right? But I never did anything. So then he calls me one night as I'm leaving the bank. There happened to be a Chili's right next door. This is in Sunrise, right by the Sawgrass Mills Mall. And he's like, hey, we're here at the Chili's, man. Yo, Chris, you gotta help these guys. Now they're saying that they thinking I'm undercover, like I'm setting them up because I can't seem to deliver with the product, all this other stuff. Like they're threatening they're gonna do some stuff to me and stuff like. I'm like, huh?
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. So I'm like, but a little bit of my ego and stuff like that. I'm like, they're threatening you, like, and I understand. I'm like, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, I'll go over there. Let me talk to them. They ain't gonna threaten, like, do they know, like, let me go over there and talk to them and stuff. So when I go over there to the Chili and I talk to them and I tell them, look, this is it. I don't know what he's trying, but it's not going down and you're not gonna do nothing to him either.
Right.
Of course they're all on the cover. This isn't gonna happen, all this other. When I leave that Chili's, man, oh man. I think every table in that Chili's was on the cover.
Right.
They jumped, from behind the bar, from on top of the trees. I was even like, who are they coming for?
Right.
I'm even now in the parking lot saying, all these black Suburbans pulling up and everybody, and I'm even wondering, wow, who are they getting? That's what they say, and it's me. They're like, boom, boom. It all happened so quick. They grabbed me, threw me in the back of a Suburban. Right, and this Chili happens to be in like a Publix, a big shopping thing, and then they throw me in the back of a Suburban. Boom, all those cars, all those people. I don't even know how. As fast as they came, they disappeared just as fast.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to grab you because they want to flip you on everybody else.
Everybody else.
Right.
Correct.
They don't want anybody to see you get thrown in there or be arrested or anything at this point.
Or anything, correct. And so now we go to behind the Publix. And you, Matt, you're right on point. The first thing the undercover DA says is, hey,
you could help yourself out.
You still have time. Nobody's going to even know this happened.
Yeah.
You see how quick we were in and out? Like nobody knows. Don't ruin your life. You got to go. Now, they don't know really nothing about like what's going on in the bank. They just know because of my dad now. They're like, just help us now get to the bigger guys.
Yeah.
Can you do that? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. I don't even know what's going on. Why am I even here? So he's like, okay, you want to play? He slams the door. And this is when I immediately know. So I'm in the back of one Suburban. The guy who's trying to set me up, who brought all this on me, is in another Suburban. Now all of a sudden they take him out of that Suburban and they put him in the back with me. Right? So now and I'm being quiet and he starts talking. He goes, "Are you so they were right? You're the snake. That's what they were telling me. I can't believe you did this to me. All this other stuff." And I'm just like putting my finger up, saying,
"Right."
And that's when I knew it. I said, "Him. This is him." I knew. I just stayed quiet. I guess when they saw that, right, they pulled him out again. All this other stuff. The undercover comes over again, says, "Come on, man. We can throw the book at you here. We got more than enough. I mean, just work with us." No, I know. You know how it is at the beginning. They'll make it seem right. And I'm like, I'm just staying quiet. I said, I really don't know what you're talking about. All this. So of course, boom. Now they take me down to Broward County, main jail. they start. Well, they actually put me in an interrogation room first, of course, and it's one interrogation after the other after the other. My only concern at this time, man, was this. I knew with me, it wasn't, I'm like, this is going to play out with a whole lot of hearsay, whatever, all this other stuff. But my one concern is my brother. I'm
Why?
like, if they go to my house,
Oh
we're
yeah, he's
living
here
together,
illegally. He's false.
and him for once again re-entering the country. It's a minimum right off the rip 5 years.
Is it 5 years? Yeah, I think so. I had a celly that had 5 years for reentry.
For
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a celly that got 7 years. He shot a guy in the head in Texas. He didn't die. My celly's name was Victor, by the way. He had shot a guy in the head who didn't die. He got like 10 or 12 years. It was Texas, and for some reason maybe it was Arizona, whatever, some border state. He ended up doing like 5 or 6 years on I think they brought it down to, I don't know what it was, like manslaughter or something like that. They brought it down. So he does like 7 years, let's say. And on the re-entry, I'm wrong. On the re-entry, he had gotten I think 10 years on it was the second time he'd been for re-entry, second or third time. And he had committed a felony, came back in and committed a felony. So he got even more time. So he got 10 years. And I remember him saying, I'm going to do more time
on the re-entry.
than shooting that motherfucker in the head. And I was like, really? He said, yeah, 4 months, 4 extra months. He said, I'm going to do on the re-entry with good time and everything. And he's like, this motherfuckers. And I'm like, it's like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to go back. I'm coming back.
Jeez.
He worked for the cartel. And I was like, really? I was like, what do you do? He's like, dude, I load trucks. I dig holes. He's like, they hire tons of us,
Yeah.
But he was something else. But yeah, I always thought that they're not fucking around with the re-entry.
No, man. I'm telling you. Let me tell you that not to get too political and stuff like that, but shutting down that border because, man, it's what sometimes we get through there and how many times, bro.
It's rough. Some of these guys are not. Come on, stop it.
But it was so to hire a sicario in Colombia to just come here, do a hit real quick and go back. And Mexico was just boom, it's too easy. It was too easy, man. It was too easy.
So your brother, he's sitting at home playing Game Boy, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever, Game Boy, whatever.
So I'm in
not knowing any of this.
Yeah, not what's going on. He's waiting for me to get home from.
Sorry.
He's waiting for me to get home from work, and so I'm in the interrogation going up because this was all about 6 o'clock. Right, I'm in the interrogation. So now he's getting work because it's probably about 9 by now, 9 or 10. Right, I'm not picking up. My cell phone's going off like crazy, and it's him. Mm-hmm. Of course, back then it wouldn't say a name or not, just the number. And of course, all the DA are like, "Hey, is this the guy you were going to buy the kilo from? This got to be your connect. That's who you were going to go see, right? Why does it keep blowing up your phone? Why is he, So they would show me. They wouldn't let me hold up, but they would show me the number, and I'm like, damn, my brother. So I'm just staying quiet. I'm just, I'm not cooperating with nothing, stuff like that. So they finally say, book him. Mm-hmm. Book him. I know in their mind that he's not even going to last 3 months. Yeah. Book him. Just, So a good amount of them leave. I'm left in it's a small interrogation room, and right next door he had it was kind of open. He had a little desk, and I guess he's starting to type up all the arrest report and all this other stuff. And I see that the phone was left right on top of the counter. Right? I'm like, man, I got to warn my brother, man. I don't know if they've hit the house, not, or anything like that. So I asked him. At that moment in time, they had me handcuffed with my handcuffs on the front. Interrogation, stuff like that. So
they're still being nice to you.
They're still being nice. And so I asked him, could I use the bathroom? Yeah. And he goes, yeah. There's one right there. Of course, there's no door, so he could see and stuff like that. But he was so busy on his computer. As I walked by, I actually grabbed the cell phone. Mm-hmm. I'm in the by the toilet, standing up, looking like I'm urinating.
Yeah.
But I'm actually calling my brother. And man, the battery dies. Oh. The battery dies. But what I'm hoping is maybe he got to hear enough. I don't know. Or if that happens, It's not his first rodeo. Like, he knows how to kind of peep game. Okay, so I get taken down to BSO, to the main jail in Broward County. Now, my case was all DEA, so it's feds, right? And they wanted to leave me on the state level, which I don't know how they pulled that off. But I did my entirety was 4 years detained in BSO. I should have been in the federal system.
Right.
But they said that I knew too many people in the federal system, and it's only a matter of time I'll run into somebody or something, and so they kept me in the state. But now I know they kept me in the state because it's harder time to fight your case
In the state.
in the county jail,
Right.
because that's at the end of the day, man. That's what 4 years in county. I fought the case for 4 years, so they hit me with conspiracy to traffic.
Okay.
Right, just conspiracy, and
Never
with
seen any
conspiracy,
drugs, never
and
sold any drugs,
and
never-
nothing. Yeah, conspiracy to traffic. That's all. That's what they hit me with and stuff. So I finally get booked. Right, I'm leaving booking, and man, as I'm leaving booking, you know how they have all the holding cells and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's in one of the holding cells.
Oh, they went by the house?
Yeah, they hit the house, but they don't know he's my brother.
Oh, okay.
So now I walk by, I see my brother, which that was painful, man. And of course, my brother puts his hands out like, yo, and you know, we both just said, yo, I'm talking nothing. But now I'm like, man, dang, you know, now this is serious. So I'm like, geez, for whatever reason, we know the reason and stuff. They put me and him, so he gets booked too, but under the alias, his name, right? He already began to cut his fingerprints.
Right.
So every time they would fingerprint him, he would get a partial match with his real identity, right? But it would be like 40%, 50%, and they needed 90% for it to be like a legitimate match.
Right.
Right? And he would just keep, and they ended up putting us in the same cell, which we knew, right? You know, like we should have been like co-defendant, and you know, you never put co-defendants in the same cell or whatever, but they did it so we knew that cell was most likely bugged.
Right.
Right? So now when the deputies are, you know, taking me to my cell, he's already in there. And so we ended up being in there for 5 days together, right? And so we would just talk about sports and things like that, and never, you know, not stuff like that. Whenever we not talk about just something serious, so you know, you'd have the little pencil in the paper.
Did you ask him where he grew up in Puerto Rico?
Yeah,
So where'd you grow up? You ever been to San Juan? I've been to, yeah, Puerto Rico's
Exactly.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
I learned all about Puerto Rico. And we would just write so something important, we would write on a piece of paper, show our, you know, read it, and then we take that paper, crumble it up, and eat it, and swallow it. And then finally they broke us up, but they would always come back to him, you know, and say, hey, you know, we got to do reprints, because it would always a partial match, but we knew we only had a matter of time. Mm-hmm. We only had a matter of time, you know, before it's going to get to that 90%. Because one thing is, okay, he messes up, you know, 2 fingers. These 3 have a 100% match. But now these 2, so eventually then these 2 are going to be good. He can't, you know, like we only had a matter of time.
Yeah.
And stuff. So now, but we are being treated as co-defendants. So he's going to court on his one thing, and I'm going to court on my other one. This is where it gets a little legal and stuff like that. I'm thinking, how am I going to get him out of this? You know, but I did come up. I said, well, they want me to talk, right? I started, you know, you're in there. You talk to other people start, you know, who have been in there, and you start kind of learning the system, which that's where I think my dad went a little bit wrong. As smart as he is, should have learned how the system and played the system. You know, that's one thing I did do. I learned the system, and I said, okay, want me to talk? So then I said, I told my lawyer back then. I had my case made him. He was a recent state prosecutor who just turned to a defense lawyer, and I was his first case, and that case put him on. Right. After that, he does really good, and so now, I tell him, yeah, let's I'll be willing to cooperate, but on the one condition, that you got to let my roommate go.
Right.
You got to let him go. I mean, he doesn't deserve this. The guy just came in, he moved in 2 weeks ago. You got to let him go. And of course, they're like, well, why you care so much about it? I'm like, doesn't deserve it. You want me to talk? You want me to start, all this other stuff? Let him go. Let him go. You got to let him go. That's my only condition. And they started signing off. We're going to boom. The next day I call my lawyer, verify. And he goes, yeah, your roommate. Even my lawyer didn't know it was my brother.
Right. Went back to Puerto Rico.
And he goes, yeah,
Back
they
in the
released him.
mountains.
He's been released on conditional, monitoring and stuff like that. He's got to check in. But he knew the game. He knew.
Not checking in.
He knew exactly what he did. Once they told me he was out, and I verified it on the street,
Yeah.
And that he was no longer in Florida per se. Right now it was my turn. Right now they like, okay, they started bringing in pictures of people and who do you, where can we start? What case can we, and all this other stuff. Now, by that time, the 45-day, I don't know if a little bit about law, the 45-day speedy trial law, Florida, because I had a $2 million bond.
Okay.
So
I know there's a speedy trial law. I didn't know 45 days. Is that in the state?
in the state.
Oh, okay.
And since they put me in the state, exactly. So they put it in there because you can't have a high bond, $2 million, where you can't bond out. And you also can't just sit in jail all day. They need to file formal charges.
Yeah.
And I kept checking every day, and they would never, they arrested me under conspiracy to traffic, but there was never I would check every day, and there was no formal charges filed, which means there's no discovery, there's no formal charges. So I tell my lawyer, hey, we're coming up to that 45-day thing here. I'm in here 43 days. He even said, what? He goes, you're right. He goes, I'm going to put in a motion for for a speedy trial, which now because they haven't filed formal charges.
Right.
So they can't keep me with a high bond. It's basically to protect you from sitting in.
Yeah. You can't just hold me under no charges.
I mean, you're accusing me of this, but let me see the, why.
Right.
And stuff. And we go to court. I'm in Rock Corp down in BSO because, minimum mandatories. I was facing anywhere minimum at 15 to 30 years. All this. So I'm on Rock Court, which is one of the toughest judges, and he granted the speedy trial motion.
So what, they have 2 days?
No, they had an ROR me, released on my own recognizance.
Oh, okay.
Had to, by law. And I remember in court when my lawyer runs over, he goes, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight? And I'm like, no, why? What happened? Things sometimes happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just learning like the legal jargon and all this other.
Not my experience, but for people that are lucky.
Yeah, and he's like, that's it? Yeah. It doesn't drop the charges.
Yeah, no.
It just means they can't hold, they got to let me go. They can't hold me. They have it. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to call your family, man. You're going home. What? I couldn't believe it. But man, I will tell you this, those 45 days hardened me. I had made some connections, and I had now learned.
45 days hardened him.
No. Well, not hardened me in that way, but I mean hardened me to be more evil, to be more conniving.
Yeah.
And
Was the bank job still waiting for you?
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah, they raided the bank the next day.
Did they?
Yeah. After my arrest, they questioned everybody. And everybody, they were like, no, never nothing suspicious. They were like, no. I never caught a charge on the line or on the nothing. Nothing. All they had me now was on this conspiracy with this guy, right? I get ROR'd. I think I'm going home. Yeah, I'm supposed to go home.
Oh, so
get back to the cell, give away all the comments. You know how it is, waiting for them to just say, pack it up, Carmona. But like I said, I'm already in my head. I'm like, oh my, right? Nothing. 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 4 in the morning.
2 a.m. You got to know it's over.
No. You're hoping the mic is just going to say, Carmona, pack it up. Because they're going to let you go.
Yeah, they might come get you at 4 or 5 in the morning, though. They might do that, like wake your ass up. And
Yeah, you never Nothing. Like 10 in the morning the next day, I call my lawyer. He's like, what are you still doing in there? I said, I don't know. They haven't called me. He's like, what? He goes, call me back in an hour. Let me check. Call him back in an hour. This is where Tampa's going to get interesting. Calls me back in an hour. Call him back in an hour. He goes, you won't believe this, man. He ain't getting out. I said, what happened? He goes, they filed another trafficking charge for you in Hillsborough County, Florida. He goes, what have you done? I said, I don't know nobody in Hillsborough.
Mm-hmm.
Happened to be, it was the original case of the guy who tried to set me up. So to hold me, the DA asked the state, yo, we need some time. Don't release this guy. And they put me into the guy who set me up's case about trafficking 10 kilos up here in Hillsborough County. And I didn't know nobody.
Right.
But it was not to release me. They didn't want me to go. Which now, I mean, things happen. So 2 weeks later, I'm on that white van, man, coming over here to Hillsborough County. I remember being booked in Orient Road Jail.
Orient Road. Been there many, many times. Not for my own. Well, I have been there on my own, but I also to drop off money to Zach. Fucker.
And then the Falkenberg, they sent me to Falkenberg.
Been there many times.
But man, let me tell you, I didn't know. And on this one, I had a discovery because those charges had been formally filed on that case. But, you know, the guy turned informant.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm reading the discovery, I'm like, where's my name in there? Like, where is all of this? But all they did was they bought time.
Yeah.
Hillsborough lent itself to, so the DA, the statewide, because I had a statewide prosecutor now.
Right.
Because now it was like two different, there was a case in Broward County and there's a case in Hillsborough County. Now I have a statewide prosecutor, but it gave them time now to get together and file formal charges for me in Broward County.
Okay.
So I only served in Hillsborough County like almost like 4 months. And then Broward County refiled the charges, finally.
Right.
And they brought me back to Broward County to face that conspiracy. By now, all of this is going on about 8-9 months of me being detained has gone by. And in total, 4 years, Matt.
You sitting there 4 years,
4 years
fighting the case?
Because all they would do is they kept asking for a continuance, the state. And all they would do is every 6 months is just come visit me. Are you ready to talk? Are you ready to cooperate? No? Okay. And I guess they never figured, they probably said I wouldn't last that long in
Right.
county, but 4 years. And they would go periodically to my mom and dad also. Are you ready to cooperate to help your son out?
Right.
And of course, neither of them would cooperate or nothing. But yeah, they would go. My dad told me, yeah, they'd say, oh, now it's your youngest son. Not even for your youngest son? Your youngest son's facing 30 years. My dad told him, well, he knows what he did. Why are you coming to me for that, you know?
Right.
And yeah, so in 4 years. So I did 4 years detained in county fighting the case because, of course, a $2 million bond.
Right. So what happened after 4 years?
So after 4 years, we're going like every 6 months. And I'm with the same judge. And this is where like redemption or God comes in. Thankfully, in Hillsborough County, this is why I needed to come to Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County is where that heart and heart I was telling you how I got, but I didn't know nobody in Hillsborough County. I didn't know no. So now I'm not getting visits. I'm not getting nothing. I actually have a problem with one of my cellies. He happened to be, it's a different world than Hillsborough because most of the deputies in South Florida, Spanish, African American, things like that. You're talking in the 2000s in Hillsborough County, most of the guards are white.
Yeah.
You know,
Rednecks.
redneck. Yeah,
Good old boys.
Good old boys, and you know they'll look out for their own good old boys that happen to be, you know, in a jumpsuit
Right.
and stuff. So my first cellie when I was in Falkenberg, well, actually in Orient Road, happened to be some guy from Alabama and all this, and he started making this ruckus in the cell at night. He started just yelling like obscenities through the door. You Deps ain't nothing, all that. If I catch you on the street, I'll whoop you and all this. You just hide behind your badge and all. And I'm in the top bunk just like, oh man, like this guy's gonna like get it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When the guard comes over and opens the door, they blame it on me. Tells me to step out of and and the guard happens also to be, like a redneck and stuff, and starts asking me, "Is that you making all that ruckus, boy? That you?" And as he's talking, he's like spitting in my face and all that. And the first rule. All the other ones are looking through the door, seeing.
That was that fat fucking redneck Bubba. He's talking shit.
Nah, so,
Said some stuff about your mother earlier.
yeah, and I was like, no. He's like, well, then who's doing it? And I said, I don't know.
There's only two of us in the cell.
Yeah, I said,
If it ain't me.
does it sound like my voice? But he wanted me to like point him, and that would have been, how that.
Yeah, then
EJ,
everybody
that-
hates you. Now
Then everybody,
fucking
I'm a
hates you.
snitch,
Yeah.
all this other stuff. I get 10 days in the hole for that.
Yeah.
And that's where, man, I get broken. I am broken, man. In that hole,
10 days?
I get 10 days in the hole. No, but at
The first time I was in the hole, I did 45 days.
you did 45?
Yeah.
What did you do?
What did I do? Oh, it came out in the front page that I had bribed a Hillsborough County a city council member. He actually was a commissioner by then, but when he was a city council member, I had bribed him. And so it came out that I had bribed him. And so the guards thought I was in trouble. So they interviewed my lawyer, and they said, so this guy had been, they interviewed my lawyer, and they said, when Mr. Cox was first spoke with the FBI, the first person they asked him about and the guy's name was Kevin White. First person they asked him about was Kevin White, he was a counselor. I mean, a commissioner, city commissioner.
So he was probably already being watched. That's kind of like maybe.
Yeah,
doing some
they had a
funny
case against him.
Exactly.
But so the reporter, they said that. So in this whole article about how I had given like $25,000 or something like that to
His
Kevin White to his campaign, I'd given this money to him. And so, okay, fine. They're saying he's involved with Cox is what they're saying. And which is fine. That's fine. But then when they talked to my lawyer, she's like, FBI or Mr. Cox was helping cooperate with this guy or with the FBI against this guy. And so, the prison sees that. The newspaper, it's front page. They read it. It's got my fucking picture on the front page.
So now they got.
And so they read that and said,
they
"Oh
gotta
no!"
quarantine you.
They throw me in the shoe for 45 days, and then when I'm in the shoe, it took them about 45 days before they came to see me. And
you couldn't be in general population. Cause
that's what. And they were like, listen, this is bad. I was like, bro. I said, listen, if you scream snitch on this compound, half the fucking compound's gonna turn around and look at you. And he goes, it's much worse than that. He said, trust me, 50%. He said, it's way worse than that. He said, but still, you could be in trouble. Are you worried? I said, I'm not worried at all. He said, we could ship you. I said, I don't want to get shipped. My mom lives down the fucking street. No. So he's like, all right, well, I'll get you out of here. I'm going to put you back in general population. I said, okay. I said, well, was that like the end of the day? Oh, no. He said, it'll be another week or so. I was like, fuck. 10 days. 10 days.
Yeah, now I gotta give you.
It was 45 days before I even knew what. No, it was about 30 days, 35 days before they talked to me.
Yeah,
and then it was another 5 or 10 days before. So it was about 45 days total I did. And
Wow. Yeah.
But listen to our shoe. You had a shower in the shoe, and you had a toilet sink combo and a shower. It was a bunk beds. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. When you're not resting well, everything else feels harder. Your focus, your mood, even your recovery. GhostBed is here to help you fix that. They've spent decades perfecting how to build a bed that's comfortable, durable, and designed to actually help you rest. Every GhostBed mattress features premier materials, proven cooling technology, and their exclusive ProCore layer, a targeted support system that reinforces the center of the mattress, where the body is heaviest. It helps keep your spine aligned and your back supported, so you can wake up ready for anything 2026 throws at you. Each mattress comes with a 101 night sleep trial and a 20 to 25 year warranty, so you can try it risk-free, knowing it's built to last. Shipping is fast and free. Most orders arrive in 2 to 5 days. GhostBed has great prices to begin with, up to 50% off comparable brands. And Inside True Crime listeners can get an extra 10% off site-wide for a limited time. Just go to ghostbed.com/Cox
and use promo code Cox at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox, promo code Cox. Upgrade your sleep with GhostBed, the makers of the coolest bed in the world. Some exclusions apply. See site for details. I only had, towards the end of my thing, I only had one or two roommates the whole time. I was 30 days before I even had a roommate.
Yeah, compared to Broward County up
Yeah.
here, oh man,
Yeah, that's a luxury.
At one time, up here, I had a one-man cell. I didn't even have a cellie.
Nice. That's what are you talking about? What are you
know?
complaining
No,
about? That's
once
great.
I finished the 10 the 10 days and stuff.
Okay.
Because this is what would start happening. In my case, a lot of the deputies would start looking at like my rap sheet. And even they would start asking, what are you doing? Like you should be in the feds. Like, and of course, like, you know,
What do you
like
think they're
they would
trying
think,
to
they
do?
would think, oh, his dad. And they would know, like they would look up, I guess, what was on there. And they're like, man, your dad's in jail, your mom's in jail. Like all that. So the word usually on the compound was like that I was this, you know, like this huge narco and stuff like that, which that was me, that's my dad and stuff. But it carried it, you know, and it helped me out.
Why aren't you in the feds? Why aren't they? Because money laundering, I mean, there are state money laundering charges. Mm-hmm. But why do you think they're not bringing you to the feds? Do you think it's just because it's, well, you said it's just harsher time? You thought that there was easier
to break me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they used the excuse that I had too many people who I knew in the federal system. And it's only a matter of time I'm going to, you know, like run into somebody or something like that.
Okay.
And that's why that's why the judge allowed them to keep me in the state level. But I know the state level he's not going to last 3 months.
Right.
Because everybody tells me, look, I never went to prison.
Yeah.
I never, you know, stuff. But everybody so I'm doing 4 years in county. And you don't know how many times guys will come in there, get like a 1 year, 2 year bid, get out, commit another crime, and I'm still in there.
Yeah.
And they would be like, Carmona, how you still, bro, I'd be crazy. You have no rec here. You have no this. Yeah. The food is really bad. 4 years of that. But man, God just gave me that peace. And that's in that 10 day that they put me in the hole up here in Hillsborough. I had no personal property. They didn't allow me nothing. All I could keep in there was a Bible.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
And,
no good.
You know,
I was able to read. I was reading like a book every other day. I was reading nonstop.
yeah. No, that's all they allowed me to have when I was in the solitary, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I got back out, yeah, of course they gave me back all my property and all this other stuff, but man, that was the blessing, man, because and I was never raised to be spiritual or not. My dad's an atheist, actually, pretty much still into this day. I was broken, man. Just think, I'm figuring I'm getting out. I'm thinking now I'm up here. Now I'm in the hole. I'm spiritually like just broken, and I finally just humbled myself and said, you know what, God, if this is true, you know, this is where I can really need you. And I just started reading the Bible, man, and my life changed, man. I didn't start my thinking, just my life changed. And when I got out of those 10 days and things, I felt peace. I just felt a different weight. I actually was able to finally forgive my parents. I carried a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
All those years, I carried a lot of that resentment and things, and I wanted to always blame this is happening to me because of them.
Right.
You know, which in reality,
It
in
is.
a way, indirectly,
It
yeah,
sounds pretty much like it is.
indirectly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I also put myself in certain situations for these things to, you know, come around me, and that's what the Bible helped me to start recognizing, looking inside of me and seeing just how evil and wicked I was. You know, I want to sit there and say, oh, at least I'm not putting, you know, dope and stuff out on the streets and all this other stuff. But man, I'm helping facilitate,
Right.
you know, all this other, and it's changed my life, man. And ever since then, man, I've just a different man. Just a different man. So if that's what it took, if like that's the purpose, you know, for God to get because he searched for me. I didn't search for him. But if that's what it took, me going to Hillsborough, and for all to go through this, for me to finally acknowledge my evil ways, then glory be to him, man. Thankfully, I'm glad he did it, because who knows, if I didn't change, I probably would have, like, if I would have got out on that ROR, who knows, man, I probably would have caught a bigger charge. Like I'm telling you, I came out now with more evil intentions in my mind. and knowing a little bit now how the system works and how the informants and all this and what they can do and all that, it kind of having that about, those 45 days to kind of see all that and how it works on the inside and all this, and you're going to let me out? And nothing on the bank went down. Of course, I won't be able to go back to work at the bank and all this other stuff. So imagine, what would I logically probably have done? Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Murdered someone? What?
No, probably gotten into a life of crime.
Okay.
Like I myself selling. How else would I be making a living? What I'm
Well,
saying, I wouldn't have been able.
Job. There's other jobs.
Yeah, but now I have that open case. So it's going to be on my record.
Right. So 4 years. How does it resolve itself? They drop the charges.
So after 4 years, right?
Good.
The judge now, he keeps seeing me. So it's every 6 months. And this judge, he's in a wheelchair, Kaplan, and now it's like God touches his heart. Like before, he used to look at me like, with, and of course the state would say, oh, you should see who his dad is and all this, all that. And of course, okay, because he would never lower the bond. How many times we put in a motion for reduction of bond and nothing. Finally, he's like, look, it's almost 4 years. You keep asking for a continuance. He doesn't want to cooperate. What are the facts? Let me get the discovery. All this other stuff, right?
Let's proceed forward.
Yeah. Monday, we either go to trial, we start trial, right? But then all of a sudden now the state starts producing. And all they had edited. They had a bunch of conversations. Mm-hmm. But all the conversations where I'm telling him, no, don't come in here. Like even when he came into the bank with the undercover, none of those, nothing. They just had 3 recordings of me on the phone saying, yeah, let me see what I can do.
Right.
Call me tomorrow. All this other stuff. But they were also following me for 2 weeks, right? So the judge asked him, let me review. So he took a recess. He goes, I'm going to review. He wanted to review the logs of when they were, because the DA then came and said, oh, no, Your Honor, we also have logs. We followed him for 2 weeks prior to his detainment. We have a whole bunch of, incriminating and all this. So he says, okay, let's all take a recess. Because he was adamant now that this is going to get resolved now or we start trial Monday. Right? He takes the recess. He comes back like 30 minutes later. We're all back in there. And so he goes over the log. He goes, what incriminating? All I read there is that you followed him to work, from work to the gym, from gym to public, from here to here. I don't see nothing incriminating. So the judge's like, where? Like, why did you even raid his house? And one of the DA agents said, oh, we had a gut feeling. I mean, look at the family history. What would you think? I mean, why wouldn't we and all this? And God touched his heart. You know what he told him? He said, well, the law doesn't work with gut feelings.
Yeah.
And now he threw out all the evidence. He threw out all the evidence. They couldn't even use the recordings or nothing. No, he goes, there was no he goes, I don't see nothing. He hasn't done anything.
Right.
So by now the state starts coming, okay, well, they tell my lawyer, well, he do 7 years with 4 years time served. Well, and I'm like, no, 10 years probation. All that. I'm 4 years, so I know how they, how all, and I say, here. So I give my lawyer the man, they're not going to suspend my license. I'm not doing probation. I'll plead no contest, but all of this has to happen. If not, I'm ready for trial on Monday. Which now sometimes I regret, man, I should have just taken it to trial. I don't see how.
Trial's
but on
scary.
A conspiracy, exactly, on a conspiracy.
You don't know who's on that jury.
And
if the jury is made up of average, decent, hardworking citizens, that means that they're not that smart. Because the average American is just not that sharp of a person. Yeah. Your jury should not be made up of your peers because your peers are just not that sharp. They believe anything the government says.
Correct.
They believe anything the government says. If you're sitting at that table, 90% of them think, oh, well, they arrested him. He's got to be guilty of something. Like, that's just what they think.
Exactly.
So it's really up to you to prove that, that the government's lying. Yeah. And they don't want to believe that. Nobody wants to believe the government's lying. Yeah. Government, they put up 4 informants that all said that he bought drugs. There are no drugs. There's no photos. There's no tapes. There's no nothing. Well, yeah, but the government said, it's like, oh, fuck, we're done. You're done.
And of course,
It's
they'll put the
terrifying.
informant on the stand.
Oh no, they're
Hey,
all
who
going to
knows?
say you bought and sold drugs. You
Get
were
that
helping launder
before,
money. You were laundering money. You were at all the big meetings.
Meetings.
You were on the jets. You were
Correct.
flying around. You've got a palatial mansion in cartel territory somewhere in Mexico right now. Or no, sorry, in Colombia right now. You're like it's like the fuck is going on? Doesn't matter. They'll believe it, and yeah.
So I sold him. I said, I'll plead no contest under these conditions. My lawyer even said, man, now you're pushing it, bro. Yeah. I don't know. I said this. He came back. He said, yeah. Now I remember the statewide prosecutor. So we agreed to it. I remember she comes over. What was her name? Catherine something. She comes over and she warns me. She goes, if you ever, as far as a conspiracy for a gram anywhere in the United States, because she actually this one came specifically from Washington, D.C. He says, I will personally put you away for life. She was like, I don't remember those words. I was like, okay, but 4 years, I pleaded no contest, time served and all this, and I got out. But it took 4 years. But in those 4 years, it was a blessing. Like I said, it was a blessing. I, gave my life to God and started doing Bible studies and English and Spanish. That's what I kept my time doing in there. That's how I kept myself busy. Just doing the routine exercise. Wrote the book Zeal.
Right.
Because what I would do in there is I would write poetry. I started actually writing poetry for the guys and stuff like that and all this. And let me just say, my time was also a little bit easier because when I went down, I was never married, no kids, nothing like that. So
Yeah.
plus both my parents are also locked up, so I don't got to worry about their well-being. My brother's the one that now he's out. He actually, he gets another name,
Right.
and he goes to Alaska to work on the fishing boats.
Right.
Yeah, he works there, hustle for like you know how those you go out for like 3 or 4 months, you don't pay no food.
Yeah.
No, all you gotta do is have a valid social.
Yeah.
They don't care, and most of those most of those guys are whatever. So, but
Well, I think there's two kinds of. What was the person said in that movie? There was a movie called Insomnia, and this chick in the movie, the police officer says, "You born here?" And she goes, "No." She said, "I came here." She said, "Really? You came up here?" And she said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why? Why'd you come up here?" And she said, "There's only two people that come to Alaska. Those that are like, I don't know what she said something like those that, are escaping their past." Or
Correct.
those people that are looking for adventure, something like that.
There are two kinds of people who live in Alaska: the ones who are born here and the ones who come here to escape something else. I wasn't born here.
I wasn't born
Born
here.
here.
That's what she says. Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
It's
Yeah,
great.
that's great.
I hate to say it's a great line, but I couldn't remember it. But yeah, it was a great line. So
now you will believe what happened to him. He's in Alaska, been doing that for 2 years. So remember, he's got a whole nother identity, and you won't believe this, man. So so you go out for like 2 or 3 months, and when you come back in, they weigh the amount of whatever the catch is and stuff, and then they divide it amongst the crew and all that, and it could be anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000.
yeah,
Stuff. And he gets off, and I guess that name, that other identity that he got from being from a Puerto Rican stuff, it looks like somebody else was using that name, and owed back the IRS back taxes. So that whole check gets garnished. He gets off the plane. He gets off the boat, and that whole check gets garnished, man. And so now he's like, well, I can't keep using this name.
yeah,
And by then, now you got to understand now, by then, 9/11 has happened, all of it, and that connection with the papers.
yeah.
They actually, I forgot to mention this, there was a time, because, 9/11 is 2001. I go in 2000. There was a time when the DA didn't even want me now to work for to turn in narcos. They wanted to know, to give them who was giving me the papers.
Okay.
Because they eventually, guess what? They eventually they got the match, and they knew he was my brother,
Okay.
but he was already long gone. It took like a year later, they came back and they sat me down, and they were like, "We know now that that roommate was your brother." And
Thought he looked familiar.
and he you know, they wanted to know the driver's licenses and the birth certificate and all. They're like, who wears it? And they said, forget about turning in Arco. How about these people on this side? Of course, I didn't work with them on nothing, stuff like that. But so now when my brother gets garnished, there was that connection. After two, it was done. Like it's too hard now. Oh, I guess you were doing it a little bit different. I guess you were, when you said you were making up the identities and stuff like that. But
I mean, sometimes it was they were synthetic identities, and sometimes they were homeless people. So there's really identity theft, but you're stealing the identity of some guy who's living in the woods behind a Walmart. You know, so you can basically use it forever, right? Like he's not. If he gets arrested, it's for being drunk in public. They hold him for 10 days and then they just release them. They don't even put these guys on probation. So so you can be 3 states away and have 4 houses and be paying paying taxes under his name and everything else. And you have a driver's license, a passport, everything. He's never gonna, the only thing is he's probably gonna pass away before you. Yeah. So what you really have to do is find that guy and lure him to a house somewhere where you've got a grave dug in the back, and then just shoot him in the head and drop him in the grave, and then you don't have to worry about him dying. You could just take over his identity. I mean, I heard.
Oh, true. Yeah, because then we know death certificate and stuff like that. Right?
Then you don't have to worry about him getting arrested for something, or there's a warrant out for you because he's,
Yeah.
And then you plant like a dead dog above him. You build about 3 feet of dirt, and then you put a dead dog above that. And then above that, you put like some tree, some endangered tree on top of him with a little plaque that says "endangered cypress." So
with a gopher turtle.
He put some endangered birds and some endangered bee's nest hanging from the tree. Never dig here.
Oh man, but yeah. So by then, there was a good amount of time where they now were just harassing me about the who, how do you get these papers? And because after 9/11, the 2001, they were really
worried about terrorism
and stuff like that. So when that happened, my brother, that connect was no longer there to do that. I mean, he just went back through Mexico and went back to Colombia. Been there ever since. Happy, but now Medellin's changed a lot. Medellin ain't what it used to be. So, speaks good English, all this. So he's happy now. He's happy there. He says, I don't need to come back to the U.S. for nothing. Medellin.
I wonder if you got a plane ticket in someone that's illegal in that country to go back to the country, would they stop you and arrest you, or would they let you get on the plane and go? Like this, ultimately, this is what's happening. Do we circumvent that 3-year ICE sentence, or do we just let this guy's obviously going back? Like, would they let you go back, or they go ahead? Nope, got to grab you and put you through the whole system, or do they just let him fly back? Like if he had jumped,
maybe like self-deport in a way, and then if he tries to come back in, but
I've been here 5 extra years. I made a mistake, didn't realize I was overstepped my boundaries by that much, or my visa by that much time. I'm ready to go back. No, there's a warrant. We're going to take you. No, I'm going back. I would think that probably not. They probably grab you, arrest you. 3 years later, you're back at the same airport, getting on the same plane, going, Jesus.
Yeah.
So I can see why you would go through Mexico to get back to Colombia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he goes back to Colombia, and So now my case, probably after 4 years in county jail, finally gets resolved by the grace of God, and my life has changed. And
so, whatever happened with your mom and dad? Like, when did they get out? Are they still?
Oh yeah, so my mom gets out in 2003.
Okay,
and then my dad gets out in 2008. They reconnect in Medellin. Of course, they're both deported.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can't come back here no more. But as of right now, they've divorced. They've separated everything, and they've gone their ways.
Okay.
I still go to Colombia from periodically time to time, 3 or 4 months, because my brother too is down there and stuff. But everybody's retired. Can't say there's enough to live lavishly, like how they use and stuff, but enough to live comfortably. And let me tell you, my dad's hardcore silence, it took a while. Look how many years. I mean, he's been out since '08. He finally gave me the green light to talk about certain things, and to even get green light from people down there, and you know, he's always been against it, but at the end of the day, he says it is your life. You didn't choose it. You know, go ahead and do it now, and that's, you know, part of igniting the fire now to publish it, as he's also kind of given me the green light. You know, a mumbling green light, because to him he's that hardcore old mentality. You just you don't show and tell. This thing when I get out, so we were talking about that earlier before the podcast, and that's when the mortgage boom was happening.
Oh, okay.
And all this, because now it's 2004. It's kind of like just took me 2 years, but yeah, I started doing mortgages and flipping homes and things like that. So a little bit based on your testimony, I related to some of those things, and I actually remember never false. I'm telling you, God's changed my heart. I don't want to get even close to anything like that, but what I did do on certain properties that I would flip was pull out the equity to fix them at the closing. So what you said, you know, I'd go to the owner, somebody who's distressed or a divorce or whatever. Hey, I'll buy it right now for $80,000. I know it appraises for $150,000.
Yeah.
You know, I can get a loan for like maybe $130,000. So there's $50,000. It's going to cost me maybe back then $20,000 to renovate it.
Yeah.
You know, so then in the front end I pocketed $20,000, and hopefully when I sell it, maybe I make another $10,000. And pretty much that's what I did until, of course, the market crashed.
Yeah.
And stuff, and then all of that, and then now I own a car dealership. Been doing that for 14 years.
Where's the car dealership?
In Pompano Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Pompano Beach, Florida. And I've been in that business, and God's been good with that. So started off very, very slow. Well, small, you know, a little office and no parking, and now I have, you know, I fit. It's like an 80 car lot and stuff, and just been grinding it out in that. And
80 cars. Yeah, that's a good size. That's pretty good, don't you think? Isn't that a good size? Listen, I don't know a guy who makes a good living flipping like 10 cars. He's not a year, but he's constantly got like 8 to 10 cars. Listen to what he does. I'm sure you know people like this. Like they put them. He's got people where like he puts it like in the parking lot. You know, he knows people who have that they have businesses, and he'll put a vehicle there. He buys your vehicle. It never goes in his name.
Correct.
Right. So he puts the vehicle out there, and then he details the hell out of it, cleans it up, you know, as much as he can, and then he puts it on all the apps, the free apps and everything, whatever. Puts them on all the apps, and then sells it. You know, his goal is to make like $1,000, but he's always got like 10 of them going.
Yeah.
You know, all the time. He's always got 10 of them out there, and that's all he does. He's a hustler. And I'm telling you right now, I'm sure he's making $150,000 a year just doing that.
By law, you can only put 3 cars a year in your name.
In your name.
So that's why he leaves
none of them go in his name.
He leaves them open title.
He explained that to me. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's a lot of people that's the hustle and things like that. So I've been doing that for 14 years. Got into that.
But you're doing it legitimately. You actually have a business.
With financing and all that stuff. Yeah. Sometimes I think about, man, why didn't I know about this dealership? Because man, you could have laundered a lot of money through a deal.
Yeah.
You know, but no, nowadays sometimes I'm like, Lord, forgive me, man. He's just already thinking about.
There's always some guy out there who's taking cash for the vehicles. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll take a chunk of cash. That will like work with the local kind of drug dealers. You know what I'm saying? Those guys do great for like 3-4 years, and then at some point somebody gets busted.
And always, I know.
Yeah, suddenly the DEA is like, how are you driving a $30,000 vehicle? How'd you pay for this? Oh yeah, the guy down the street, he does this for everybody. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's no good. It's no good. It always seems good until you're standing in front of a judge.
Correct.
You know, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to lose my dealership. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to be out in like 10 years, starting over from scratch with nothing. And for 10 years, I'm going to be thinking, what did I do?
Nah.
I could have made I could have made $100,000 a year, legit, but no, I had to make $150,000 and now lose 10 years
Yeah.
and start over. No.
Even before the dealership, I opened up a barbershop, and I always thought, you know what? You know, you look at Supercuts, but I was like, man, I could conquer the urban world. There's not like a Supercuts for the urban style, but kind of like what you said, it's a whole cash business. And then most of the good barbers in the urban world are street guys, right? You know, in a barbershop, let's say you have 8 barbers, 2 of them are serious about it. There's the profession, they make good money. Then the other ones, yeah, they know how to cut hair, but at night they're partying or doing this and that. And it was going very good for me. But now you start hearing about, in the barbershop, everybody from all walks of life go into a barbershop.
Yeah.
Right. So you have your you know, the high drug dealer, the street level guys, the this, the that. You start hearing your barbers are selling weed out the back of the store or all of that. And I just said, man, I can't take this risk.
Yeah.
Once somebody's stupidity, and like I'm saying, I'm just saying you know, or you never know when that one customer comes in there who the DA's watching, all of a sudden they run my name and, oh, this guy again.
Yeah. He's the ringleader. Now I'm the ringleader.
Oh my. And I just said, no, I got to get far, you know, and it was good. It was good, you know, lucrative cash. Nice. I'm not going to say it was life-changing.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, if I could, with one, I could only imagine I've had 10 of these, and at the end of the month, each one's make $2,000 a month cash on each one.
It's a lot of management. It's a lot of management.
But it's a lot of
management.
then that's what I mean. The thing that scared, I said, no, this eventually somebody's gonna do something dumb, and I'm gonna be. I already had that bad taste in my mouth, and so I sold that, and I got into the car business. And when I wrote Zeal, so this book,
What does zeal mean?
so zeal is actually a word that God uses in the Bible.
Okay.
It means passion or desire.
Yeah.
And God always asks in the Bible, like there's a scripture in Romans chapter 10, verse 2, where God says, people have zeal for me, but their zeal is not based on knowledge. And that, when I would read the Bible, that word always stuck in my head. Zeal. It just stuck out, but it basically means passion or desire.
Okay.
So like before, me and you both, we had a zeal for what? The love of money. As the Bible said, the love of money is the root of all evil, right? I always wanted to come up with a different way to make money. And now my zeal is that. God said, I wish they would have a zeal for me like how we have zeal for other things in life. And so that always stuck out with me. And it's been close. 17 years ago, during the time when I was doing the mortgages and things like that, just being connected, you start meeting one person or another and stuff. Simon & Schuster almost published the book, and it got also greenlit with Lionsgate to be made into a screenplay for a possible movie and everything. But then the market crashed the same 2008, 2009. And, that affected a lot of banks. And now they didn't have the funding necessary to continue, and it got scrapped. So that was 17 years ago. That's when I kind of put Zeal up kind of in the shelves and said, what am I going to do now? And started the car dealer business. And now 2025 was like the slowest year in the car business. In my 14 years, it's been a slow, but it's weird how God works. And it's given me the time. And I picked Zeal back up, and it was already pre-edited, everything. And now you have social media exists. Back then, none of that and all this. And man, here I am talking to you, man. Unbelievable how, and this has transpired in a matter of 5 or 6 months.
You've been on here, Johnny Mitchell.
The Connect.
Yeah. What's I want to say
Honor Among Thieves.
I almost said Den of Thieves. That's
Honor
a
Among
movie.
Thieves with Nelson Rodriguez.
Right.
He's South Florida boy, just like me and stuff like that, trying to, doing his thing. And I am.
Any other ones?
Yeah, in April I got another one out in San Francisco called The Pool. It was actually like number 2 last year, and now the Christian podcasters are starting to catch wind of it and things like that. So it's in God's hands. Hopefully it'll one day, because the story I've only told what I've told here, Matt, is only up to chapter 20 in the book. And there's 52 chapters in the book. There's 32 more chapters to go. that's even crazier stuff. Because like I told you, in the narco world, I mean, I have aunts that were even bigger than my dad in the game and stuff. No, nobody no more. Nobody no more. Everybody's done their thing, tired and stuff like that. But I always say there's going to be prequels or things like this. But that's what I'm saying. But what I've led up to here right now is up to only chapter 20 of the book. And there's still 32 more chapters to go. I try not to talk too much about the violence and things like that, but that's in the book. I'll leave it for people to. But at the end of the day, it is a story of redemption. It is how God, in the midst of this whole narco world, can still even redeem somebody raised in all of that. And how God can still rescue somebody in all that was deep, deep, deep into that, not wanting to. I mean, we don't pick who our parents are.
Right.
You know, you're born into it. Would I want it? No. But it's the life, and now I own up to it. I'm not ashamed of it. You know, I don't glorify it anymore or anything like that by all means. But God now put me in this situation, and if hopefully this allows me a platform now to go and help somebody else change their life, then glory be to Him. Because that's in my church now. That's what I do. I'm part of a prison ministry, and I go back into the prisons and help the guys. And if there's somebody that they really listen to, because when I go in there and I tell them, well, my dad's been in prison, my mom's been in prison, my brother's been in prison, I've been in prison, then all this, they're like, dang, well, they'll listen.
Right.
You know, it's coming from experience, not, you know, so, and that's my motivation now that's my calling. God has called me to go into those barrios and those hoods and the prisons and talk to these people, man. He's put a zeal for me for that. And so it's opening doors, and I don't know where it's going to end or how far it's going to take me, but, you know, he lit that fire. After 17 years, that's 5 months ago, he lit that fire now for me, myself, to publish the book. And let's see what happens.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, if you want to read the book Zeal or get in touch with Christian, we are going to leave all of those links in the description box. So you can go there, you can click on the link, buy the book, click on the link, and you can get in touch with Christian. I'm sure that there's some kind of a email system or something there where you can email him or leave him a message. Also, if you want to be a guest, we're also going to leave our link to our website so you can be a guest. You can go on our website. You can click the Be a Guest, fill out a form, leave a short video, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much. See ya.